Hey y'all, Eli here from Mile High Pokemon. I just wanted to chat a little bit to debrief about Denver Collect-a-thon, which was the first time I ever vended, and I was there with my fiance. We're vending together, and just about some other general stuff. I want to be a little bit more active on YouTube to talk about what I'm doing and what our bulk process looks like because we've had some people in the chat and at bulk. All right, well, there's Mesa. She vended with us anyway. It was actually really interesting because I'm in the Pokenomics Discord, and it was the first time I'd met many of these people, and some people I'd watched for a long time, like PK, someone I've watched for a long time. Got to meet in person, and as a lot of people have mentioned, a lot of these people are very pure in the sense that like the persona you see online is the type of person they are in person. Everyone's super chill, kind. Some people are newer to the hobby, some people have been around for a longer time, and everyone's just very humble and thoughtful about the way they interact with one another. In our case, it was the first time we had vended, so we paid for a table in this group with other Pokenomics people. And Mesa, my fiance, put a lot of work into the setup, into the visuals, into the way that people would approach and check out the product, into setting up some art products and things like that, which I thought was really successful as they went around. And, I didn't know what to expect. There were some people there, like Jake brought, loads of product worth lots of money. And it's the sort of stuff where you go through looking through his slabs and you're like, wow, I've never seen this card before because it's so rare and expensive. And I hope to one day maybe afford something like this, but who knows because it's that rare, So people like them who had very high value product did a lot in terms of revenue. I don't know what their margins were like. I know Dan from Catching Collectibles did a lot of sealed product where the margins are lower because he had to, buy and break a booster box. But for us, I didn't know what to expect. Would we have 10,000 in revenue? We have nothing in revenue. And I think we did objectively well in terms of our sales, in the sense that I think any normal business person would look at our sales and be like, you did good for a weekend. Your revenue is good. Your profit margin was good. Perhaps I think that I was expecting a little higher just based off the way that everyone else had talked about earlier Collecticons, but I think that sort of expectation was maybe unreasonable. And I was still, one of the surprising things when you vend for our time, vending the first time, we had a lot of slabs, we had some sealed product, and we had a decent number of singles and actually low value products, like a lot of ultra rares, trainer galleries, stuff like that, which we priced at $1 a piece. And there were like multiple surprising things. First off, our prices were incredibly reasonable. Both Mesa and I walked around the Collecticon and looked at other people's prices, and especially when it came to cheap products, we were very competitive, which was surprising to me. For example, you'd have lots of trainer galleries that would sell on TCG Player for maybe, 75 cents, 90 cents, and we'd have them priced at $1 just to have a rounded. And I know that if I sold it on TCG Player, half of that money would go to fees pretty much. So I'd only get 50 cents selling there. And so I priced it at $1 and I was happy with that price. And some people went through and actually bought a lot of them, but we'd walk around and other places would have really their minimum would be $3, $5 for something like that. And I'm just thinking to myself, who buys this sort of stuff? Who buys a card for this much? And I presume that once in a while people just see something they like and they don't really care about the price. It's really interesting for me because I start thinking about this trade-off in my head. Because theoretically, if a person sells one of those trainer gallery cards at another table for $5, that's worth for us selling, 5 to 7 of those cards. They only have to sell 15% of the amount to have the same sort of margins. So I don't know if it's actually true that us discounting that much in terms of being very competitive, being market price, means that we're getting 7 times as many sales. I'm just not sure. To be fair, towards the end, we actually had a WhatNot streamer, which I'll talk about later. The WhatNot streamers came in and bought out probably around $200 of these of product all in one go. And so in that case, we're pretty happy because he just like cleared us out on that. And that was at market price. And who knows if he would have bought that much stuff if we had been more expensive. But that was just something very curious, is that as we walked around, we definitely had very competitive pricing. On slabs too, we were pretty much market price on everything, and a lot of tables were not. And so I was just kind of surprised by that. I was also surprised that a lot of people that came up to buy expensive items from us didn't like haggle, didn't try to get a discount. Some people definitely did. They'd say, can I, if it's $100 slab, they'd be like, would you take 90, 85, whatever. That's fine. I got a few insulting offers, which I'm like, no way. But generally, some amount of haggling is okay. But I was surprised that there were actually a decent number of people who just came up and they're like, how much is that slab? $300. How much is that slab? $250. Okay, I'll take both of them. Just pull it out, no haggling. It's like, if you'd come up and asked for $50 off, I probably would have done it. But I don't know if it's just like lack of expertise. I don't know if it's just like them not caring. I don't know if it's sort of an American thing because haggling is very much not an American construct in most industries. So the idea that you would come up and ask for not list price is kind of strange unless you're going to buy a car or whatever. In America, that's not super common. So I just thought that was really interesting. But overall, we had a great time hanging out with everyone around the table. Got to see a lot of really cool cards, especially JCAD, like Art Academy cards, which, there are only 100 of each, which was really cool to see in person. I think overall we moved probably about 40% of the slabs I brought, which means that I still am left with a lot of slabs to try to sell on eBay. In the weeks that followed, I had sold more. But I don't know. I think I just thought I would clear through more of my slabs to drink from around. And I kind of did have the opportunity to do it, and I said no, because there was a moment where the WhatNot streamers were walking around our group, and they were pretty much blanket offering 80% on everything. And I thought about it, and I sold them a few slabs that I was fine taking 20% off, but generally I was not okay with that. A lot of people in the tokenomics table just pretty much were like, yeah, I'll take 80% value, just buy me out. I was not a huge fan for a few reasons. First off, several of these slabs, I literally went and listed on eBay and have sold since then, and I got full price on it. For example, I had specially delivery bid of, and of course there's still eBay fees, but still a special delivery bid of, I priced it $400. Streamer comes over, says, you do 320, 310, 300 or something, and I just sold it on eBay for $400, PSA 9, and even with fees taken accounted for, like, by saying no to them, I had $40 more, pretty much on net by selling it on eBay instead. But the thing that really rubbed me the wrong way was the kind of the entitlement that I felt like a lot of people had in the WhatNot coming around. Not all of them. Some people were fine. Some people were nice and good, but some people were just coming up and they're like, will you do 80%? And I'm like, I'm not really comfortable with that or whatever. And they'll just be like, yeah, well, I'm a WhatNot streamer. So I have, an audience and I will move your cards faster. And also, I have fees too. So I have a 15% fee. So I can't pay you, anywhere near the value of the card because we already have to give 15% to WhatNot. And so it kind of bothered me because it's like, well, we're also trying to run a business, as are many of these people around these tables. We also have fees. If I went and I had to buy a table to stand here and sell my cards, right? So for the weekend, $180, just right off the top, right? We had to pay for parking. Their fees into there, but also selling on eBay, selling on TCG Player, whatever. We also have fees. You're not the only one who has overhead, right? We all have overhead in one way or another. So the fact that we're used to taking 15% fees and you want, give us 20% off because we have fees plus, all the overhead that you're already spending to be here to rent a table to whatever, is just really frustrating to me because it doesn't appreciate the fact that I'm a business too. And that, this isn't charity. And we'll get to that. Some people wanted to do trade challenges, which I wasn't a huge fan of. But yeah, I think this idea, like, we have to bend over because you've got a following on the internet, which really bothers me. And really, if you have a big following on the internet, the ones that are actually popular and whatnot, they're getting above market price because people are willing to pay for the entertainment value of watching the stream. So theoretically, the most successful WhatNot streamers are selling their stuff for 125, 130% market. So you should be able to pay 90 to 100% market if you're actually a good WhatNot streamer. So that was kind of something that bothered me. I also had a surprising number of people that wanted to do trade-up challenges. I think overall, over the weekend, we had maybe 6 or 7 people come up that were doing trade-ups, and I just had a general rule where I'm like, no, we don't participate in trade-up challenges. But I'm sorry. Yeah, it takes work to run around the entire convention trying to trade up, but it's kind of silly. You're pretty much asking for a lot of people to give you charity when chance like if I had to choose in terms of who I gave out free shit to, number one would be like, oh, I just donate to good causes. Poor people, I would donate to housing, I would donate to whatever, all sorts of causes that I believe in. It would not be giving free Pokemon stuff to people who can already afford their necessities. But second of all, there were a few times when there were kids and we just, I wasn't losing money, but I would give them a discount. Like, where my soft spot is like if a kid will walk up, like a 7-year-old, and they have their own wallet out and they're like pulling out and trying to count their like ones. They've got like $15 in ones and they're counting them out. Then I'm like, oh, then I have a soft spot. Okay, I'm not going to try to profit off you. I'll just give it to you at cost because that was me one time, and I remember how difficult it was with an allowance or whatever else they have to get, buy stuff up. So I am willing to kind of cut slack there. But when you've got like adults coming up, like I'm a streamer, will you trade up with me? I've got this slab worth $40. Will you give me one worth 50? It's like, no, I'm not just gonna give you free shit. So that was really bothersome. It's kind of annoying. I feel like it's kind of disrespectful, actually. I don't know if other people feel that way, but when people feel entitled to stuff that you have spent a lot of money to acquire, or like you're trying to run a business and your margins are low, I just really resent the sort of entitlement that a lot of people have walking around. The Mad Dabber. Yes, I am in Denver. So that's where we're based out of. So for me, actually, it was the really convenient thing about coming to Denver as opposed to other people is that I drove a mile from my home to go put stuff up in the convention center. Whereas a lot of the other people at the tables and around came from out of state. I mean, there was a surprising number of people that came from outside of Denver. Kind of shows you how big the Pokemon hobby was. And to be fair to the WhatNot streamers, there wouldn't be nearly as much money in the hobby, and there wouldn't be as much sales if they weren't out there. So it's almost like some capital that came in to buy up inventory that wouldn't otherwise be bought if they weren't there. Yeah, I think it's probably on net good the WhatNot streamers that come in and from out of state, but it's just kind of annoying sometimes. But yeah, you just moved away from Denver. Well, nice. Yeah, I mean, Denver's a great place. I'm from Denver originally. I was out of the state for school, but I just moved back this summer. So I have a main job where I work, and then this is kind of side gig for both me and my fiance who work on it. But yeah, if you're ever back, for sure, we can figure something out. Yeah, the tech center's got, I guess, 25 minutes or so from me. Yeah, for sure. It's a nice area. Very expensive nowadays. Denver Tech Center was kind of something that was actually kind of built up before its time, in the sense that it was there and it existed, but I feel like it really came into itself over the last 5 years in terms of becoming the bougie thing that they originally intended for it to be. Especially going out to eat there is very, very nice nowadays. But yeah, I'm in the middle of Denver right now, and Denver's got its own share of problems for sure, but it's just very nice area. Very nice to be close to the mountains, and the downtown is nice in terms of just like living, easy accessibility to amenities, to concerts, to everything. So, but yeah, Portland also seems great. I visited once. Yeah, I think there's a lot of overlap between the problems of some of these cities. I mean, the number one, of course, is the fact that lots of people are moving to these places and that housing is not kept up in terms of the amount of supply. So there's been a lot of displacement for sure of longtime residents because there's just not enough housing getting built, which really sucks because you've got a lot of these people that are moving to Denver. And I'm not someone to be like, oh, you're not glad to come to Denver. There are a lot of people like that who are like, oh, you're from Texas, get the hell out of Denver. I'm not like that, but I definitely do think that the fact that the infrastructure is not kept up with movement to the state is a big problem on its own. And that's not just something we're facing. It's something a lot of places are facing with surge of population. I'm sure Portland and Seattle are similar too, some places in Texas, etc. But, the fact is when you've got your population go up by 25, 30%, when you've got half your residents not born in the state, you need to build up infrastructure to support that. And so right now, everyone complains about, thanks one Pokemon for coming in and commenting. But yeah, one of the things that you got highways, for example, here in Denver, and everyone complains about the traffic. And the traffic today is terrible. If you're trying to get from, I grew up in Southeast Aurora, which is about a 45-minute drive from downtown. I live in downtown. The traffic didn't always used to be this way. When I was a kid, it was fine. There was never like the sort of traffic they saw today. And it's because, a million people moved in that they never built enough infrastructure to support the people. It's that people are moving further and further out. If you've ever been to Denver, and obviously you live there, Ian, is that it's a wildly spread out city and it's very flat. And so if you're trying to get from one side of the suburbs to the other, it's like an hour drive from one to the other. And it's just really unfortunate because instead of building infrastructure in the center of the city to build up so that people could live in the city, essentially it's meant that people have sprawled to both sides of the city, which makes the traffic that much worse. Which is just unfortunate. It used to be that you could get to the mountains very, very quickly without traffic. And now it's loads of traffic if you're trying to get up to the mountains to go ski or whatnot. And so it's just unfortunate that the state and the city and everything is not planned for the surge in people, especially since it's not like this happened suddenly. We've had tons of people moving in over the last 15 to 20 years in Colorado, and they never adjusted their sort of 20-year vision for upscaling the services, the public transportation, the everything. But I still think the city's great. It's just definitely not enough support systems for everyone that's moving in and for the people that have been here a long time. But yeah, one of the other things I wanted to touch on is bulk. Did I purchase a Charizard EPC? So I did. I got 3 of them, but they are not here yet. They're getting delivered by Walmart, so they'll be here on Monday. Definitely looking forward to opening. I'll probably send them off to get graded pretty quick. Something that just came in today is actually I got, because I usually try to get stuff low on for low cost on eBay. So I just got this Sylveon Altart, the popular one from Evolving Skies. It's kind of difficult to see on the camera, but I just picked it up for $51 on eBay. So which is a pretty terrific price. It's worth between like 75 and 80. It looks like it's graded quality, so I'll probably send it off to get graded anyway, but I was pretty thrilled with that pickup. It's kind of interesting. I've started buying a lot on eBay recently, and so I've been using Gixen, which is the sniping tool, and pretty much going through and going out kind of a week and setting my max bids for a bunch of different items. It's funny because you'll lose a lot of items, like wild amounts of items. You'll lose probably 90-95% of the stuff you're like, I would bid on it. And it's primarily because my bidding is so low. I usually do 60 to 70% of market price or whatnot. But then when you win something, it's like, oh, this is a great deal. And it's just random. Things will pop up and it's like, oh, time to pay. And I'm like, oh, what did I win? Because I bid on so much stuff. But, it's like, well, this is one of those things, right? I set my max bid like a week beforehand, and then I got a message and it's like, pay for your Sylveon, $51. And I'm like, oh, that's terrific. You only win like 5% of the auctions that way, but you're always getting a really good deal, which I'm pretty happy about. So yeah, Facebook is mad. I usually get a lot of stuff off PWCC in terms of slabs, and then locally I source a lot of stuff because people around here know that I will pay certain rates. There's emergency vehicles, which are being kind of loud right now. So yeah, I do a lot of purchases locally. I stopped taking actually bulk for common and uncommon for several months, and it just reopened this last weekend. Bulk acquisition. However, last time I was paying cash. This time around, because I know a lot of people, bulk is really low value and people are really looking for a way to get rid of it. I pretty much this time around said I was going to do trades only temporarily on common and uncommon bulk. For everything higher, for rares on up, I still will do cash. But for commons and uncommons, I went to trading. So I've been getting, in the last 2 days, I picked up around 30,000 cards. Have someone coming in tomorrow with another 38,000, I think, cards. So about 80,000 in a few days, which is kind of crazy. Off 3 people. That's how much people have been hoarding because they haven't had a way to get rid of their bulk. But I pretty much started taking bulk in because bulk was at a record low like a little while ago. And so I started going up a little in value, especially in eBay. So I started listing 5,000 cards at a time. The stuff that we already sorted through. So pretty much my fiance and I would go through the bulk, pick out anything that was rare, pick out anything that was playable, pretty much any card worth over 10 cents we picked out. And then we stashed the other 100,000 cards left over from the last time of acquisitions into the closet that we have behind us. And so for a while I shut down acquisitions because my plan the entire time was, well, eventually, once we're done sorting all the really good stuff, we'll go through. And this entire time, we continued acquiring rares and stuff. So we always had stuff coming in, and we just never got around to sorting all the bulk that was worth less than 10 cents, really. And at some point, I'm like, it's maybe not even worth going through it when the rates are so low on individuals. So I pretty much just started listing it on eBay for 5,000 at a time, and it's surprised that over the last 8 to 10 days, I have made pretty much I list for about $90 for each 5,000 cards. So I got pretty much $80 after fees on each 5,000 worth of cards, which is pretty good because I pretty much pay about 0.9 to 1 cent per card acquiring it. And then on eBay, they're paying 1.6 or so cents per card, which is already like 60% more than I paid for it. And we already picked out all the good stuff. So it's kind of crazy. So yeah, I sold probably around 40 to 50,000 cards just in the last week. And so after that started moving on eBay, I opened up our acquisitions again. And so we're picking up bulk right now. And then I'm pretty much going to be picking out all the good stuff, listing that, selling it, and then the leftovers over on eBay. We'll see how long that lasts, because as soon as it stops selling on eBay, I'm going to stop bringing stuff in, because I can't be sitting around with $100,000, $200,000 cards worth of bulk. But yeah, I do vintage. Usually I have pretty set rates on vintage bulk. I usually do, I think if it's lightly played or higher, I usually do 10 cents per for commons and uncommons. And then for if it's like rare, I have a higher rate. But really what I usually do is I'll do 50% cash, 60% trade value, with sometimes I'll do higher rates. So if the card is particularly like valuable or a fast mover, I'll offer more than that. If the person is someone I've done a lot of business with, then I'll usually give them more value. Or if there's some event like collect-a-thon. Before collect-a-thon, I boosted all my rates. I was doing 60% cash, 70% trade value to get inventory ahead of collect-a-thon. And so that kind of worked to pick up a lot of stuff, because realistically, if you go on any platform and you sell your cards, first off, if it's worth less than $5, the fees eat up a significant portion of what you're selling. So on TCG Player, pretty much everything under $4 or so, you have to pay almost 40 to 50% fees. Everything above that, the fees are of course lower, but it's still, all told, probably around 15% in fees, depending on whether you're also paying shipping or whatnot. So when I offer someone, say, during collect-a-thon 70% trade value, that's pretty good. I mean, essentially I'm saying that I'm going to go and maybe I'll make 85% of the value after fees, and you'll get 60%. So I'm only taking really 15% profit. So when people think about and that doesn't count obviously the time and effort and work I put into selling the stuff, but what people obviously don't realize is that it costs money to sell cards, right? It's not like if you give me a $5 card and I buy it for $3 automatically, it's a $2 I made cha-ching, right? Now there's a whole process to listing and all that, which people don't really read into. And it's especially prevalent for the businesses that have brick and mortar stores, right? Because their overhead is even higher. And so I feel really bad for people like Mason and Cardinal Gaming and other places that actually have a retail store, and the criticism they get for some of the stuff they do in terms of the rates they offer and what they sell stuff for, because they're literally a pillar of the community, right? Having a place where people can come play, trade cards, is something that costs money. And it costs money not just for the owner of the business, but for everyone to have a place to come and engage and meet new people, and have a safe space for your hobbies. And so I think they get a lot of shit unfairly for the fact that, if you have a regular card business, your rent is probably between $1,500 and $3,000 a month at a retail space, if not more, just depending on where you are. And so all of a sudden, every sale you make, you're taking a percent there, plus of course taxes, plus staff, plus everything there is. When you do it all yourself, you think about it differently because it's your own labor and your own time. You don't have to pay someone, but obviously it's a little different when you're running a brick and mortar store. I do collect some vintage stuff for sure. But mostly, so I have a lot of slabs. Most of the slabs I have is for resale or to fund future purpose. Oh my God, purchases, can't speak. But I do like to have a lot of binder collections. And so right now I just started going through and getting the vending collection, the Japanese vending collection, to fill that out. I am just way behind on collecting, actually. So I've got a lot of the WotC sets, but I'm probably around half the WotC sets I've got full, but I'm still looking to collect a lot of stuff and pick it up. I mean, one of the nice things just about picking up so much product and dealing locally is that a lot of the cards that I'm looking for, I'll get at some discount because I'll just buy in bulk from other people. But the thing that I've been surprised about, and I think that doesn't get enough play online, is that modern Pokemon is wildly popular to the tune that people don't really talk about on Discord and don't talk about in other places, in places in the hobby. Because when I deal with people around the city, the vast majority of deals I do are modern. The vast majority of trades that they want is they want modern product and they want modern slabs, and it's kind of crazy when you think about it, because a lot of the conversation we have online about where the Pokemon market is going, where the safe investments are, and everything is in vintage. That's where a lot of the money is. But my experience dealing locally, just with people that I see and in Facebook groups here locally in Denver, the vast majority of people are interested in modern product, not vintage. I don't know what the reason for that is, whether they're, they just know less about vintage, whether they're off for the next great thing, whether the cards are, I think, objectively a lot prettier nowadays, the full arts and alt arts. So I'm not exactly sure what, or whether they love ripping packs, and right now that's the only thing that you could actually rip. Obviously, you can't really rip vintage. It's not affordable. So I think... So I think people way underestimate the modern market. And you see that when people are very confused about the Moonbreons, right? Sustaining their value, the PSA 10 is going for crazy amounts. Now, part of it is definitely a bubble. Like, I definitely think that the PSA 10 Moonbreons are very bubble risk, because that's kind of the number one product that everyone's into. And so everyone's trying to pick that up. But I think that going on down, the other people that are surprised, the people that are surprised about other modern product, maybe just don't, I think, chat with enough modern Pokemon fans and collectors around them, because they're interacting mostly with online people, with people that are also into the similar sorts of things as they are, expert collectors, like they are really knowledgeable. But more broadly, I think a lot of people are not, they're engaging with like the 5% of the hobby that's the most knowledgeable and most niche, and not the 95% of the money that's pumping the most money on a daily basis into the hobby, like new money, right? So I think that is clouding a lot of judgment from people. So I'm generally a lot more bullish on modern than other people, but of course there are bubbles like the PSA 10 Moonbreon. I think in any market, the one product that is the most hyped is most at risk of being in a bubble, because that's the thing everyone's chasing. But I think it's not at risk, for example, to say that some of this other stuff, like the other alt arts from Evolving Skies, just like the Sylveon, right? Like, I do not think the Sylveon's in a bubble. I think that this is probably an appropriate price, and that even the graded ones are probably around where they're going to be for a long time, because this isn't getting singularly pumped in the market, and they're rare, and people love them, and people think they're pretty, and it's a popular Pokemon, and people love modern. So yeah, of course the Moonbreon's a little different, because that is getting like uniquely pumped in a way that a lot, like, none of these other cards are, and so I think that one for sure is going to go down in value. I think you're right, but I think that people way underestimate broadly the modern market for sure, and I also just don't know, and I don't know if people are understanding the long-term value. That's like the one thing I'm always flipping on, because we don't know if in 10 years, there's an argument that in 10 years, the card's going to be even cooler than this. It's the coolest we've had, but so far, in 10 years, people are going to forget about stuff like this. This will be mid-era considered, right? I don't know if I agree. I think there's always going to be kind of the standout cards from each year and from each set that will hold up. And especially when we're getting to the piece where these are like true artworks, like pieces of art that people will appreciate. They're not just photos of Pokemon, right? I think they have a higher chance to maintain their value, especially when they're so rare, because these are wildly rare in terms of just like sheer number of your hit rate pulling them out. When you look at the old cards, you pull out a Charizard every 70 booster packs. Nowadays, you're going to pull out the Sylveon every, 2,000 booster packs, something like that. Like, it's going to be crazy. 1,000 booster packs. So even though they're printing far more, the chance that you pull out one of these things is far less. And so, yeah, the attrition is going to be less. More will survive a long time. But overall, these cards are rare. They're beautiful. And I think that people are underestimating them. With the exception, again, of that Moonbreon, like we've talked about. So yeah, I actually so that was a short stream. I think I'm gonna go ahead and hang up now. MSU is playing Michigan, which is the biggest game of the year, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on and watch it. But yeah, I wanted to go live talk a little bit about the bulk and collect-a-thon, and I'll be trying to do these more often so that we can chat and I can tell you all about my strategy, how it differs from other people's, about bulk, which I think is way underrated and not talked enough about in these YouTube spaces. Thanks, both of y'all, for commenting, and thanks for everyone else that was watching. I appreciate your time, and thanks. See you next time.